Zombies have been a significant part of pop culture for as long as anyone remembers, whether it's from the movie White Zombie in 1932, the zombies from Return of the Living Dead that just love to eat, Zack Snyder's epic Dawn of the Dead remake, or of course The Walking Dead, which revived zombies. But personally my favourite is the Romero Living Dead trilogy, as it brings some of the most iconic zombies to the screen, including Bub in Day of the Dead. But then, zombies didn't just stay confined to movies, as in 1996 when Scream and Jingle All the Way released.
I gotta get the recipe from Les. Put that cookie down! Now!
Zombies hopped over to video games, and of course this game was Tomb Raider. Oh yeah, well actually no, it was Resident Evil, which is known for its great moments of horror, like in this scene where we meet the first ever zombie, and it is also known for its monumental voice acting and dialogue.
Jill, here's a lockpick. It might be handy if you, the master of unlocking, take it with you. That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
Why does Barry Burton Loki sound like Mayor West from Family Guy though?
Mayor West, you have lymphoma.
But that's enough. I'm not here today to talk about Resident Evil, so cut the gong. Actually, return to the gong for a brief second as I go over the history of zombie games, starting with the original Resident Evil games on PS1 and PlayStation 2, most of which got remakes in recent years, and Resident Evil 2, both the original and the remake, and Resident Evil 4, both the original and the remake yet again, are both considered some of the greatest video games of all time. And it seemed forever like Capcom would dominate the zombie scene, until Valve, who was known for fame of the Half-Life games, the Counter-Strike games, and the Portal games, decided they wanted their own input, and released a legendary trailer for a game that would come out in 2008, and you may know this game as Left 4 Dead. Is one of the most monumental zombie games, as it just takes Valve's usually action-oriented style and mixes it with horror for a perfect blend that many people to consider to be their favourite zombie game. And in 2009, just a single year later, they created a sequel to this perfect zombie game, which many people prefer over the original. The Left 4 Dead games are so universally loved because they incorporate Valve's just simple but amazing formula and mix them with some memorable zombies such as the Hunters and the Witches to make some amazing games with some amazing characters that everybody remembers. And just, it's a good time with friends, as most of these games, while co-op is not required, it's suggested for your best experience, and it includes some graphic moments but also just fun times. And many people consider Left 4 Dead to be amongst the greatest zombie games, and Left 4 Dead 2 to be amongst some of the greatest gaming sequels that arguably surpasses the original in quality. But let me know your thoughts on Left 4 Dead, as I think both these games are good and should be a definitive part of zombie history. In 2013, Naughty Dog, the beloved company behind the famous Uncharted games, created a pretty unknown zombie game called The Last of Us, which got itself a sequel 7 years later, which is not very known too. Okay, but seriously, The Last of Us games are some of the most important and beloved games in history due to their perfect mixture of story, some emotional moments throughout, and some iconic gameplay and characters. This comes to the point that the zombies almost feel like side characters and not very important. But trust me, these zombies are still very important and some of the most famous in the horror industry. There's also Telltale's The Walking Dead games, but apart from these, The Last of Us and Resident Evil, not many very great zombie games have reached the popularity height of the three major zombie series, despite how good they are, like Project Zomboid, or despite how underwhelming they are, like Dead Island 2. But you may have noticed I missed out the one in the thumbnail, so let's just get to it, shall we? Now, I figure it's worth telling you that I actually played the remake for this game, as I couldn't get my hands on the original. But anyways, let's just do a montage like we did for the Warriors. House of the Dead was released in 1997, just 1 year after Resident Evil by the gaming titan Sega! In the House of the Dead, we play as Agent Thomas Rogan, an AMS agent who goes to the mansion to investigate a sudden outbreak of mutated individuals and to rescue his fiancée, Sophie, and ends up having to fight off the zombie hordes while trying to save scientists and himself. This is made difficult for him, however, though, as Sophie is clearly taken away right here by an even more mutated individual, and Thomas must fight his way through the mansion in order to save her. Sounds very familiar, right? Now, if you think this gameplay looks a bit straightforward and the story sounds even more straightforward, this is because you can finish this game in about 45 minutes. Yes, that is right, 45 minutes. Now, before anyone complains or some nerds tell me why, I know why. It's because this was originally an arcade game, which, yeah, obviously you can't make those too long, but honestly, I think the short story helps this game, as I feel like if the story was any longer, you'd get a bit bored, to be honest. I think this because this game lacks a variety of enemies. While there are a lot of different types of enemies, if it makes sense, they end up just repeating the same like basic zombies over and over and over and over again. Most of the differentiation comes from boss fights, in my opinion. And I feel like if the game was any longer than maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours, you would get increasingly bored as you went on and on with the game. This is why I believe the 45-minute runtime actually helps. However, a positive of this game is these guys. I really think they're a cool, just a really cool zombie. Despite how simple it is, like a big fat zombie carrying a chainsaw, it's epic. However, a negative, like I said, is the gameplay, and obviously an arcade game isn't going to have the best gameplay in the world. But damn, this gets repetitive after like a few minutes of playing the game. The boss fights are both positive and negative in my opinion. As like this guy here, he's cool, and honestly, I believe just giving them a weak point to shoot at is great. But like I said, the gameplay doesn't allow for the greatest boss fights in the world, and the weak point system is also quite a negative, as the full boss fights are basically shoot at this area of their body until they're dead, and that's it. Which, yeah, it's a great boss fight, but also not very great boss fights. However, if you're into first-person shooters and zombies, I believe this is a great game for you, as it is very short if you are not that into story games, and that doesn't matter as the story kind of takes a second seat for a good majority of the game until like the start and the end of both levels. Now, the scientists in this game are actually useful, as if you're running low on health, they are often carrying medkits that they will give to you if you save them. However, if you don't save them, you will sadly have to watch the zombies just basically rip them to pieces. The level design isn't actually that bad considering you're just following a straight path, as yeah, you are just shooting zombies for the full game, which honestly isn't a negative. But like, I feel like the reason Resident Evil succeeded, and yes, I will be comparing this to Resident Evil, I feel like the reason Resident Evil succeeded is because that game relies on you exploring a lot and looking for different types of items, whether it's guns, green herbs, etc, etc, etc. Bullets. You need bullets a lot in those games, and they're not very easy to find. The screens for each chapter are actually quite cool, as like it gives off a horror vibe. However, my main complaint is the just blandness of the protagonists, as they are just silent protagonists. And this is what made Resident Evil good, is Resident Evil is a more story focused game, and it lets you like delve into each character more and like understand their motives more. Like, the antagonist in this game, in my opinion, he's just terrible, because you don't really understand him. You only see him like at the end of each level when he's introducing a new boss to you, and in my opinion that's just not very good. And Thomas is just a bland protagonist, and he has nothing on the Resident Evil protagonist, and I am so sorry for comparing it to Resident Evil so much. Anyways, after going through a gauntlet of the older bosses, like you would do in older games, Devil May Cry 3 for example, after this you fight the final boss, who is, in my opinion, just the worst boss in the game by far, as you just have to basically bullet spam to defeat them. And then like Thomas just kind of goes home without really seeing Sophie. However, this is because the game done the smart thing, as it is only 45 minutes long, and it added some replayability depending on how you performed. The House of the Dead consists of 3 different endings. These are the true ending,
thank you,
the neutral ending, And the zombie ending, no prizes for guessing which one I got. Now, you may find yourself thinking, man, this is a terrible game, or this doesn't actually look too bad. Now, despite all the stuff I said, I actually think this is enjoyable, but you may find yourself asking, why did this game franchise lay dead for so long? You get it, like a zombie? In my opinion, I feel as though this could be due to the arcadey style kind of going out of fashion and the gameplay being very repetitive in a lot of people's minds. It also could be due to hearing the word reload about 50 million times while playing the game.
Reload!
However, the two main primary reasons I believe this happened, one, they kind of limited themselves to what they could do with each and every game by naming the game series The House of the Dead, and two, you may have guessed by now, and I'm so sorry, but I believe that the first game was a little bit of a Resident Evil knockoff. Now hear me out when I say this. In both games you explore a mansion.
Jill sandwich.
During this exploration you encounter and kill various different types of zombies.
You're the master of unlocking.
You also encounter scientists making more and more types of these zombies and trying to make them more and more powerful as they evolve.
There are terrible demons. Ouch!
But like I mentioned, unlike other zombie games like Resident Evil or The Last of Us, where their games don't lock them to a specific location, they could evolve like Resident Evil 1, the Spencer Mansion, Resident Evil 2, the police station in Raccoon City. Same with Resident Evil 3, Resident Evil 4, a village, Resident Evil 5, Africa and a volcano, Resident Evil 6, basically everywhere, Resident Evil 7, the iconic house, Resident Evil 8, a village again, and then I actually haven't played Requiem yet. Whilst this game franchise did lay dormant for many years, it is thankfully getting the attention it deserved and many reboots are being made, and apparently, I don't know if this is true, but a film is in the works for it again. But anyways, this links into the next fact while I think this game series was killed for many years, as I believe the House of the Dead movie, directed by the infamously bad Uwe Boll, may have helped kill this game franchise for 20 years and leave it lying in a grave until it re-emerged as well, a zombie. As I mentioned, there have been many great zombie movies over the years, but the House of the Dead movie is one of the worst movies I have ever seen. This comes from a mixture of corny, over-the-top action sequences, some of the blandest main characters you'll ever see, one of the worst villains you'll ever see, and even editing the video game into the movie. Here it is shown, like all of Uwe Boll's movies, this has some terrible reviews, and please don't listen to Amazon UK, it rates every movie at least a 4 star. Now this sorry excuse for a movie could be one of the primary factors for why House of the Dead laid dormant and relied on a lot of remakes and just weird spin-offs for about 20 years. Now, thankfully for House of the Dead, we live in a world where every single major old game is now getting a remake or a remaster, or even in some cases a sequel, depending on what game series it is. And luckily, House of the Dead is one of those many games to receive its own remake. This may have happened at the right time, as due to the new Resident Evil game starting from 7, the hype and want for zombie games has risen to arguably an all-time high. So tell me, would you play House of the Dead? Do you think this game series deserves to die, even after the terrible movie? And last but not least, don't forget to subscribe and comment games you would like me to play below, as I will try and get onto them as soon as possible. I know that I know that The Suffering is a game that one of my very loyal subscribers wants me to play. So please comment any game you want me to play and I will try and get my hands on them. Okay, thank you and see you in the next video. Bye.